Let's bring in Karen Bartuch of the Women's Tactical Association. Karen, thank you so much for coming on the program tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
You bet. This is just such an issue, I think, not only for law enforcement officers who are parents, but really gun owners who are parents. I can see the situation arising. And it's scary to me, Karen, that here you have I'm assuming a well-meaning father who actually would prefer his kids who are in a home where a gun is present, his 9 and 10-year-old sons, be completely ignorant about firearms. I have to say, as a father and a gun owner, I do not subscribe to that philosophy at all.
Yeah, neither do I as a parent, as a gun owner, as a law enforcement officer. Absolutely not. I mean, clearly there's a lot more going on in the situation.
Right.
And there's a divorce and probably a custody battle and things like that. But it's so easy for the guns to become the fall guy. It seems like that happens over and over. That happens here in Chicago. There's tons of gun violence. Let's blame the guns. When clearly there's a lot more going on than just that. And as far as showing children about guns, I'm a huge proponent of education. My daughter's 6 years old. She helps me field strip my rifle, and she handles guns safely. And, when she's ready to go out shooting, she will. So it's about being a parent and teaching your children to make good decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the probation officers, Jay Van Aken, said, when I first began carrying a firearm home due to my employment, my 2 daughters, then ages 5 and 8, were extremely curious about the gun. I unloaded the gun. I allowed them to handle the unloaded weapon. I talked about the danger of guns with them and instructed them that if they ever encountered a gun, they should stop, leave the area, don't touch, leave the area, tell an adult. He basically, said I gave them the Eddie Eagle rules. And, again, depending on the age of your child, how much you can teach them is going to vary. But, it really shook me a little bit, Karen, that we've got this story. I mean, the headline, arming children with the facts about guns, dispute without clear answer arises over parents letting children handle firearms. I think we've got to make it clear that the other side is arguing that we keep children ignorant about firearms in a home in which firearms are present.
Yeah, and it is pretty unbelievable. And I think that ignorance causes fear, and we need to be able to educate our children. And I agree with you that it's going to vary on each situation, and children are different, and it's up to the parent to determine, what level of intimacy they can have with a firearm. Mm-hmm. But just because you don't talk about them doesn't mean that they're not there, and doesn't mean that they're not going to run into it someday. It's about teaching your children to make good decisions in difficult situations.
Absolutely. I mean, as I said earlier, this is like raising your kids and never teaching them not to touch a stove because it may be hot, or not telling them where the knife drawer is so that, they're just surprised by it one day. I don't understand this attitude. And as you said, there are other things at work here, but I've got to ask, Karen, I mean, have you run into this attitude at all, either yourself, or have you heard other people say, gosh, I can't believe that people are giving me grief about this, but they are?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have friends in the law enforcement community that feel the way you and I do, but then I also have people outside of the law enforcement community that are a little more apprehensive about firearms, and I think that's our job in the gun community to promote good practices and safety and teach people that they're not dangerous and there are safe ways to handle them, and there's a ton of methods and ways out there to get education about firearms. And even before I ever shot, there was a little bit of, intimidation or scariness to me because I wasn't familiar with it. But obviously, as you learn about something, that goes away and subsides. And so I think it's our job to get that word out and spread that message.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Listen, while I've got you here, Karen, tell me what's going on with the Women's Tactical Association.
Tons of stuff going on. We're excited to be at SHOT Show coming up in January.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm also working on another project that is going to branch out into all females, not just law enforcement. It's called Alpha Girls, and we're going to be hosting a firearms and fashion show here in the gun-friendly city of Chicago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, are you going to give an invite to Mayor Emanuel?
Well, I don't know about that.
Now, that's called Alpha Girls?
Alpha Girls, yes.
I got to tell you, Karen, it's on the one hand, it is so cool to see the surge in interest with women in firearms. On the other hand, as a guy, all of these cool things are starting to develop and take place that I can't be a part of.
Well, you're more than welcome to come.
Oh, well, thank
We'd
you.
love to have you there.
Listen, I would love to do it. When is that going to be?
That's going to be in the first quarter of 2013.
All right, so we'll talk about it more when we see you at SHOT Show.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's going to be tons of cool stuff coming out of there, and we'll have stuff there for the guys as well.
Very, very cool. Well, listen, Karen, thank you again for coming on the program tonight. Great talking to you as always.
Oh, thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
We'll see you in a few weeks in Las Vegas.
All right, thanks so much.
You bet. Karen Bartuch joining us with the Women's Tactical Association.